When you're selling your home, you're not just selling a building with some rooms and a roof, right? You're selling a dream, a future. But what if I told you that the moment a buyer decides if they love your home or not happens way faster than you think? That's what we're going to dive into, the art of making an absolutely killer first impression. 30 seconds. That's it. That is the entire window you have. All the research and just years of experience show that a potential buyer makes a gut decision about your home in the first half minute they step inside. Seriously. Everything after that, it's often just them looking for reasons to prove their gut feeling was right. So this brings us to what is, without a doubt, the most critical part of any showing, that 30-second first impression. And we're not just talking about nice flowers by the door. This is about the immediate vibe, the atmosphere a buyer feels the second they cross that threshold. And it really comes down to one of two feelings. On the one hand, you have a space that feels bright, calm, and, intentional. It just whispers, hey, I'm well cared for, you can relax here. But on the other side, a space that's cluttered or dark, well, that creates instant resistance. It makes the buyer's brain have to work harder, and it sets this negative tone for the entire rest of the tour. This is exactly why we stage a home. It's how you build that positive feeling from the get-go. And look, this isn't about fooling anyone or just throwing some pretty pillows around. It's about strategically creating a genuine emotional connection with the buyer. And this quote it nails it. The whole point of staging is to remove your life from the space so that someone else can easily, almost instantly, imagine theirs. You're not showing them your house. You're handing them a blank canvas and letting their imagination paint their future on it. So how does this actually work in their head? Well, first, good staging makes a home feel dependable, trustworthy. That feeling helps buyers physically relax and slow down. So instead of rushing through, they actually start looking at the details. They start picturing where their own sofa would go, or maybe where they'd put the TV. They start imagining future moments, like sipping coffee in that kitchen on a lazy Sunday morning. You're selling the feeling, not just the floorboards. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but does it really make a difference? Well, let's look at a real-world example. We'll call it the Plymouth story. So the situation was a classic one. It was a house with a fantastic foundation, great bones, as they say, but the rooms just felt a little tired, a bit uninspired. And the sellers were, understandably nervous about whether it would pop in a pretty competitive market. So the solution wasn't some massive, expensive renovation. Not at all. It was a smart, creative, and practical staging plan. We're talking about things like fixing the lighting to brighten up those dark corners and tweaking the furniture layout to make the rooms feel way bigger and flow better. And the results? It was immediate. At the very first open house, people weren't just walking in. They were literally stopping right there in the entryway. And the first thing they said over and over was, wow, this feels great. That's it. That's the emotional connection happening in real time. And here's the bottom line. That amazing first impression, that wow factor, directly led to the home getting multiple competitive offers that very same afternoon. You just don't get that kind of energy by accident. It has to be created. Okay, so you've seen the why and you've seen the proof. Now let's get into the how. Here is a super practical checklist you can use to get your own place ready for an open house. All right, let's break it down. First up, light. Light up every single corner. Use soft, warm lighting to make every space feel open and full of energy. Step 2 is scent. Fresh air is honestly your best friend, but a very light, clean citrus scent can work wonders. Just please avoid those strong, overpowering fragrances that make people think you're hiding something. Next, think about flow. Your furniture should be like a friendly guide, leading people through a room, not acting like a roadblock. Then add a few simple, warm touches, a cozy throw blanket, a healthy green plant. Things that add life without adding clutter. And finally, keep every single surface clean and uncluttered. It sends a powerful message that the home is well maintained and totally move-in ready. So, after all this, what's the ultimate takeaway? Well, it all comes down to one thing, your return on investment, your ROI. And I really need you to remember this. Staging isn't just decorating. It's a marketing strategy. It is the art of setting a very specific emotional tone that makes a buyer fall completely in love with the idea of living in your home. So what's the return? First, and this might be the most important one, it builds trust. When a buyer walks into a beautifully staged space, it subconsciously tells them that this property has been loved and cared for. It just erases doubt.
And what happens when you build a trust? You boost value. It's really that simple. Buyers are willing to pay more for a home that feels right, that feels like a safe and smart choice. And finally, when you combine that trust and that value, you get the grand prize. You turn a boring old walkthrough into an experience they won't forget. In a market flooded with options, you need your home to be the one they can't stop thinking about later that night. So, that leaves us with one final question for you to think about as you get ready to sell. It's not just about tidying up. It's about connecting on a human level. So, how will you create your wow factor in those first 30 seconds?